if you came into like my office or my desk and you're like, dude, you're a mess. I'm like one of those messy organized type of people,
right?
Where I know where everything is that I need.
Yeah.
Having a dedicated schedule for yourself, like figuring that out takes a lot of stress out. I need to know exactly what we're doing for the week. So every Sunday I'll sit down every night and look at my work schedule, look at the kids' schedule, and then plan out what we're watching it, when we're watching it, and when it's getting uploaded.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reactorverse Podcast, brought to you by Passionfruit. I am joined today by two people I've been very eager to have on since I've got this whole podcast rolling. It is Nikki and Steven of Nikki and Steven Reacts.
What's up, Eric?
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, friends.
Thanks for coming on. I'm happy to both have you here. Like I said, I've been wanting to get you on for pretty much the start of this whole thing. I know we've been dancing around our schedules of trying to get this going because we've both, I think, had pretty big, sort of life schedule changes going on the past month or so. So I'm happy to have you here finally.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for being patient.
No problem at all. So as I always do, I like to go back to the very beginning of the whole journey here. And I just want to get to the start of you two, which is, how did you two meet?
How did we meet?
Yes.
Oh, funny story.
On the internet, actually.
Yes.
Really?
Steven was perusing the singles on MySpace.
Don't age us.
Sorry.
Don't worry. I'm up there too. So.
This fluky thing.
Yeah.
Started talking on the internet, and
Because I
didn't leave her alone.
Yes, I have a memorial tattoo, and he was like, "Oh my god, that's so nice! That you do that for your friend." And then we just started talking, and then we've basically been inseparable ever since. And that was back in 2005.
It's wild.
Yeah. The 2005 MySpace era. I knew it well. Don't worry.
MySpace crew?
Yeah.
Yep.
When you first met, though, whether it was online or in person finally, was there any sort of formative singular thing that you bonded over? Was it film, TV, media, music, anything like that?
You're just really cute.
I just think we meshed
answer.
really well together. I don't think there was anything specific.
Yeah.
No, we have similar senses of humor. I'm just so stupid.
We balance each other out really well. Obviously, you see that in our videos, I feel like.
Right.
But we just get along, and we could just talk about, she could talk about something that I'm not interested in, and I'll sit there and listen. But
because I go off on tangents.
Yeah.
Right.
I just
tangents
think
with Nikki.
I just think it's a personality thing. There wasn't any. I couldn't she hates sports. I love sports.
Yeah.
Especially when we first met, sports was my entire
I
life.
still don't really care.
Yeah.
So
I'll watch my kids play softball. That's it.
we went to the movies and stuff, horror movies. Our first date
yeah.
was a horror movie.
Nice.
So it fit well
Yeah.
with what we ended up
The
doing.
Exorcism of Emily Rose was
Yeah.
our first date.
I also saw that on
Yeah.
a date. It's a good day movie. Yeah. Yeah. So to jump ahead a little bit, to get to how this channel started. The channel started in 2016, but as far as it can go back as it is now, the videos only go back as far as 2017 with the season 8 premiere for The Walking Dead.
Yes.
Could you walk me through kind of what the reason is for that? Is there a missing chunk of content from the early era?
So when we started doing reactions, I had that much knowledge of what a reaction video was, and I started doing vlog content.
Yes.
I started my own thing, doing my own content. There was some stuff going on because I work in the media industry, and I needed a little extra, I guess, just push and drive outlet just to be creative. And so I'm like, hey, I got all the equipment to do this. I'm going to just start vlogging because it was the kind of cool, popular thing on YouTube at the time. And did that for a little while, and randomly
vlog us working out.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff. Just randomly, whatever we were doing that day. or whatever I was doing that day. And it just turned into a Sunday where we were hanging out. We decided to have like an in-home just dinner date.
Yeah. Date night at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Barbecue, beer.
Yeah. So we had some good food. We had some drinks. And that night was season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And it was part of our day. Not knowing what reaction videos really were at the time, I'm like, hey, let's just record ourselves doing this. We're hanging out. We're watching the show. We knew something crazy was going to obviously go down. And that night, as I was editing, I'm like, something told me in my head, I'm like, this needs to go up by itself. Nikki's reaction to that premiere, if y'all haven't seen it, she gets very emotional. She was bawling her eyes out. And I just had this gut feeling that this needs to go up on its own, not as part of some random 10-minute vlog of a bunch of random stuff.
Yes.
Right.
And then woke up the next morning and that singular video had over 100,000 views. And as someone who was trying to find the niche of what kind of content to make on YouTube at the time, it kind of answered the question for us.
Right.
Pretty much forced our hand. So that content was created on my old channel, which doesn't really exist anymore. So that season 7 content was over there. And then when season 8 started, we made the decision to start Nikki and Steven React.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's why that content's kind of gone into the void.
Yeah.
I don't like YouTube's way. Like, I can't upload something and have it be kind of buried.
Yeah.
Like, all those videos would just jump to the top and would just flood the feed. So that's primarily the reason why I haven't uploaded all those season 7 reactions to the channel.
Right.
But yeah,
Totally.
that's why there's a void there.
Yeah. That makes sense. You know, from the handful of people I've spoken to so far and just, watching the space as it evolved, that season 7 premiere was like such a pivotal moment for the reaction space in general. You know, like I know it probably blew up just because everyone was watching different reactions to it. That's how I found a lot of people in the beginning too. Yeah. And it was a good serendipitous happenstance that you picked that day to do it, that one, and you blew up from it. It was a good choice.
Wild. It's just wild how that worked. Because I mean, The Walking Dead, I feel like at that time was really popular and everybody had eyeballs on it, and the introduction of Jeffrey Dean Morgan and like that was Nikki's the one who watched that show originally.
I first started watching it when I had just given birth to my first child, and I was just up all the time. I had like exit routes ready to go. I was like, this is what I need to do. Watching The Walking Dead, I'm ready to go. And then it just like binge watch all those. And then we were like,
I kind of made fun of her at first too. I'm like, what is this zombie thing you're watching? And then when I actually started paying attention to it, I'm like, oh, dang.
Because I started watching in season 3. I had caught up to season 3 and then continued through that. So
I had a lot of catching up to do once I realized it was a cool show.
Yeah.
And now here we are because of The Walking Dead.
Season 3 will always be my favorite though. Always.
The Walking Dead, like I said, was such a important factor for everyone's sort of reactor evolution, and same for me too. Like obviously, I came in season 3 as well and enjoyed it, and it's interesting because your channel started with The Walking Dead primarily for the first chunk of videos that you're doing for that season 8 for first half, and then I think the reason that those did so well, like I think the reason that it was so accepting was because Skybound really put a lot of effort into embracing the reactors and putting them into compilations. And so what was that experience, I guess, learning about the reaction space after that? What was really going on in that whole atmosphere?
I thought it was really interesting because at the core of what a reaction video is, I always found it to be very interesting that people are consuming this type of content. And the longer and more you dive into it, you realize how important reaction videos are to people. And it's an amazing thing. And it's really
a bonding experience.
And I just love the communities that people build around these shows and the content. And when you could build that community away from the show and you just carry it through other pieces of content, I feel like there's a special bond being able to watch content with people and just learning about the reaction space and all the amazing reactors out there and how nice and like offering everyone is to
Everybody's
support.
So nice. Yes.
It's a really amazing community, and just the reaction video phenomenon was just so unique to me at the time.
Right.
And like growing up in it essentially as a content creator it's fascinating.
Yeah. And then, so you started doing the vlogs, got to the reactions. You mentioned you had sort of media industry experience. Was getting into the reactions specifically as that sort of format, was there any significant learning curve trying to get those going and, navigating copyright claims, also just presentation?
Yeah, like the recording content is the easy part for me. It's the figuring out how to make it look interesting and sound good and just
be transformative.
Like, yeah, I remember early on, like, how do we get the episode to show up on the screen? Because I'm pretty sure the first, I don't know, 20, 30 videos didn't have the VOD option,
right.
Just the picture-in-picture, I mean. And so, like, learning that process and syncing everything up, like, there were times where I had a camera recording the TV, and just trying to get it back. So, like, I feel like I made things a lot more difficult for myself in the long run, like early on. But finding that groove and like figuring out technically how to accomplish everything to make it look a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, outside of that, it's just filming yourself sitting down and watching something, which I went to college for broadcast journalism, so that's the easy part. It's all the other aspects of making a reaction video that the learning curve was a little harder, I guess you could say. Just the technical aspects of it and figuring out how to navigate the space, because it is a crowded market. There's a lot of reaction videos out there, figuring out like thumbnails, how do you title your content, what's the best way of approaching all of that. And then when you realize how intense the whole copyright thing is, because you are using other people's content that is owned by a really large IP, you're like, oh, what is this fair use thing? And I did so many deep dives on learning what fair use was and reading up on it and doing our best to make sure that all of our videos fall under that. And you still run into issues and figuring out ways to navigate that.
Right.
It's definitely a more difficult process than a lot of people might think on the outside looking in. But once you jump in and you start learning, it's a difficult process, and there's a lot to learn for sure. Yeah.
There's a lot to the editing part, as I can attest to as well. It's just
exactly
even just getting it down. And then once season 8 reached the mid-season finale, as it usually do for The Walking Dead, you branched into other shows. I remember the first poll you did was Riverdale versus Punisher. And that was really sort of a pivotal, like the channel's going to go one way or the other type of moment. Because I think the audience chose Punisher, and that sets you off on a trajectory with a whole new audience, a whole new landscape to work with. And what was that experience like, being able to branch out and figuring out, okay, now we have other things to play with. We have like different options to look into.
That was a big moment because...
a little scary, honestly.
I'm pretty sure we even made the decision to branch out because as we were in that hiatus, that's when YouTube was like, oh, hey, by the way, there's new guidelines that you have to hit if you want to keep your channel monetized. And so that like raised the red flags where I'm like, do we want to keep this channel monetized? It's like, yeah, we absolutely do. What do we do?
Yeah.
And so that's when we started basically reaching out to community members and figuring out what shows are good to react to and all that stuff, and started doing our homework. And we somehow came up with the like two most opposite shows, I believe. Still haven't seen Riverdale, but I would imagine it's a lot different than The Punisher.
A little bit.
That's the reason that we even went in that. I don't know if we were never pressured by YouTube, be like, hey, you got to hit these certain metrics to stay monetized. I don't know how much we would have. It's like everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And I feel like that's one of those things that motivated us to even jump into another show.
I honestly don't think we would have. I think we would have just been doing Walking Dead content.
Who knows? Yeah. And I think one of the only reasons that we even wanted to watch The Punisher was because of Frank.
Well, John Bernthal
from Walking Dead.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it's...
I mean, he's everything.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's like, oh,
Twinsies.
That was something that was really big in our first videos. Like, oh my God.
John Bernthal, watching John Bernthal.
And she got the Carol stuff. So that was one of those like pivotal things where YouTube made a shift, and it's like we have to make a shift as well. And that's when we started adding more stuff.
Right. And then you did Punisher. Then after that, it was Cobra Kai, Jessica Jones, Stranger Things, sort of like, all these shows that were really sort of blowing up at the time. Yeah. And what was by that point, once you had a sort of a handful of shows to rotate out, was there any sort of specific strategy or game plan as to like getting those going, or was it just like, let's just throw these out, see what sticks?
Yeah.
Going back.
Yeah. I miss Jessica Jones. First season.
I think, and this is, I feel like this was a good learning experience. At that point, I feel like we were just doing it to get content posted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember like, it's hard to go back that far, but trying to think of like, that's probably right when the strategy building started,
Right.
Yeah.
in terms of like schedules and when do we do this show? Because I believe everything that we did then was all completed and we were in catch-up mode.
Mhm.
Right.
So figuring out the best way to approach this stuff, like figuring out schedules and posting and when do we watch and editing time, I think that's when the real growth for me as a content creator on YouTube really started building.
Right.
Because, I mean, I do all the editing, posting, like all the behind the scenes work. Nikki's the
That's
star of the
not
show.
me.
Nikki's the star of the show.
That's
Stop
okay.
it.
We all know why everyone's here to watch you.
Because I cry on the
It's
internet.
because of Nikki. I could just go over here.
Stop! I
I'm
can't
just-
do
No.
anything
But-
without you.
Yeah, like that was a really big learning experience, adding new shows, multiple shows, and figuring out the best way to approach posting them.
Mhm.
Because you start something, especially if it's already got like 10 episodes out, people and fans of that show are going to be like, where's episode 2? Where's episode 3? So figuring out the best approach to getting all that done was probably the beginning of the big learning curve in terms of
Well, yeah, because
being structured.
we couldn't binge watch anything because kids and
Right.
jobs,
Right.
but it was hard.
Yeah, well, you mentioned just doing catch up mode, stuff like that, and one of the big shows obviously that you caught up with in that time was Game of Thrones. And I think that
Yes.
is when obviously the kind of show that sweeps you up in the sort of algorithmic wave of things that people come and find you. You're catching up to the final season and so on that was coming forward at that time. And then was there any specific point, maybe at that time, earlier or later, where you felt like, okay, this thing has some traction here, we can start taking this like pretty seriously?
I think it was Game of
I
Thrones.
think Game of Thrones is what did it.
Mhm.
It was like, oh, people
That's-
people like this. This is like a really awesome. Like we got suggested it so
Yeah.
much, and we were so adamant. Like we're not gonna watch Game of Thrones. There's like a bajillion episodes. We're not watching all that. I'm not gonna do that. And then as we started watching it, like sometimes we would even be watching like 2 a night, which is crazy because we work. Everything we do is at night after the kids are already in bed, so
Right.
that was a little rough. But like we got like so many comments that were like so excited for it, and it was like okay, like, and then we got moderators, and it
Yeah.
was like okay.
That was the first time that we realized we needed mods.
Oh, totally.
Because like obviously the earlier videos did fine under the circumstances, but and huge shout out to American Mom out there.
Oh my god,
She's amazing. She shouted us out when we started Game of Thrones, and it brought just a flood of new subscribers to the channel. I mean,
Yes.
Game of Thrones is going to bring that anyways, but her loyalty to the product and her fan base was massive at the time, and her shouting us out and telling everyone to come over and watch us, that was
the nicest.
that was overwhelming, because that was the first time like oh damn, this big reactor is like telling people to come watch us.
We
Like,
were
oh no.
totally fangirling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And that's the moment where it definitely felt like this is real.
Mhm.
And I mean, Game of Thrones was like the perfect storm for our channel, because again, I feel like everything happens for a reason. We were very reluctant about doing Game of Thrones. I mean, I think we had seen the first episode where someone gets shoved out. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. Gets shoved out a window, and like,
I was like, I'm not watching
If you're-
this. I'm not watching that.
If you're
Are you
new to
kidding
us,
me?
animals and kids, you harm them. Nikki's
I'm out.
She doesn't handle
I'm
it well.
out.
Right.
And at the time, I wasn't like, I heard like guys talking about it at work. I'm like, you guys, like, as I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, I'm like, you nerds over there talking about Game of Thrones every
Yeah.
Monday. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, stop it. And once we were flooded with suggestions to watch it. And once we finally made that decision and we posted the first couple videos, and then we got the suggestion from American Mom, it was like, wow, Like, this is some legit stuff here.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when it really started getting serious.
That makes sense. Totally. That's the similar experience to most people, when you get into that, and like you get also the little taste of like, yes, the reaction community sort of, circling around that time. It's big, and it's a big motivator to keep going, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I remember by the end of 2019, you were pretty much in full swing. You had a rotation of shows you're putting out. And I remember, Steven, you put out a channel update video where you're like, oh, we're pretty stocked for the year, so we're going to ride this out until January next year. We'll update then, which would have been obviously the pandemic as we got into it. But one thing that you did do was you explained the importance of diversifying the content, because you expressed at that point the sort of tenuous nature of like how you felt about the reaction form. And
Yes.
I guess, would you be able to reiterate to us again, like, because I think that still resonates today, like what your main point was, like in terms of like being able to diversify the content?
Yeah. And I think that applies to any content creator, regardless of what kind of content you're making. But I feel like it's even more important in the reaction space because of the fact that we're making content with IPs of companies that could just come in and be like, you're done.
All right.
We're going to strike your channel. It's over. And if you put all your eggs in one basket, it's kind of ironic because my strategy on that has shifted a little bit, because everything is now on the Nikki and Steven React channel,
Right.
which is dangerous, but it's more so the way YouTube adjusted. And it's interesting. It's one of my biggest talking points to share in terms of strategy for channels to keep growing and succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
But the primary idea is, at any time, because of the nature of our content, things could just get shut down and you could get lost. And I'm pretty sure at the time we were streaming on Twitch.
Yes.
Diversifying what you do as a content creator, whether we're talking about today with like YouTube Shorts or TikTok or streaming on Twitch or any of the other streaming services, the list of things that you could do as a content creator, I think is better for you in the long run. And just, again, it just really all comes from the nature of the content that we're making, because you never know, there could be a new copyright law where it completely restricts you from doing anything with anyone else's content if you don't own it.
Right.
So just keeping your pulse on that and knowing what is going on there is just really important, and finding ways to distribute your content as many places as you can. And again, as I say that, it's kind of ironic because I've gone away from that a little bit. And
I mean, it's still a good suggestion.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's very important.
Yes.
You should be posting on Instagram. You should be posting on TikTok. You should be posting on wherever you can, if you got the time to do it, and create shorts and do all that stuff.
We're terrible at that right now.
I mean, it's doing that kind of content's a full-time job on top of everything else. So
Totally.
it's difficult. But yeah, the primary focus is diversifying yourself so you're not stuck to just one thing.
Right.
Is really the main message there.
Absolutely. And it's great advice because, like you said, it's I love reactions. I've been, involved with them for several years now, but it is a tenuous sort of relationship that it has with obviously the
100%.
copyright holders. And every day I know some of the channels that are always sort of waiting for the hammer to drop, and you never know. So it's good to, like you said, not have all your eggs in one basket. And so in 2020, obviously things changed when the pandemic hit, everything shut down. Output of content changed, like audiences changed. What was your experience like navigating through the pandemic, I guess on a personal level, but also maintaining the channel as well?
I mean,
It was huge.
it went from me being gone all day to me never being gone.
Right.
I was home because I could do my job full-time remote.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, my job is like 60 miles from the house. So I would leave at like 9 in the morning to go work out. I go do jujitsu, and then from jujitsu, I get cleaned up, ready to go to work, and then I go to work. And the nature of my job is I'm there late. I work in sports, so sports on the West Coast tends to end close to 11 o'clock.
Midnight.
Yeah. So I'd be out late and then come home. So there'd be a whole giant gap of the day, basically 12 hours that I wouldn't be home.
Mm-hmm.
That went from being home every single day for every minute to be with the family. And that's when, for me personally, all my priorities shifted. My mindset completely changed on everything, not just the YouTube stuff, but everything. because I got to experience what being a dad was full time. I got to be there with my kids every day, not saying goodbye to them in the morning and then not seeing them till the next morning kind of thing.
Right.
So in terms of that, it was a massive impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And when you were able to sort of solidify yourself as, you know, working remotely, as you said, from home, was there any sort of, I guess, shift in work-life balance at that point that you now applied to what we're doing now, sort of like, you know, post-pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, family comes first.
Yes. The kid, whatever's going on with the kids, they get first pick.
I mean, we have a very, very strict rule about not working while either they're home or awake. So we won't work. We won't watch a show. We won't do anything while they're home or awake. So we wait for them to either be at school or for them to be asleep. And that makes it difficult to navigate things. But I mean, we have to be present in their lives. That's priority number one as parents.
Right. And
it obviously makes scheduling hard because as they get older, they have more extracurricular activities that they want to take part in. They want to go hang out with their friends more.
Sleepovers.
So that makes scheduling a little harder. But I mean, it's always about the kids first. I mean, we come second to that even.
Yes.
So
no matter what.
Right.
Making sure that our kids are taken care of in a good place, getting everything that they need. That's priority number one in terms of everything that we do.
Right. And I feel like that comes through with your care on the channel as well. Like the dedication you have towards your family, making sure that's priority number one. I think you apply a similar level of care towards your community, towards like the sticker army, as you say, you know.
I hope that they feel it. I hope they feel like, you know, I'm trying to protect them and like, you know, make sure everybody's good and safe.
Right. Yeah. Just as a singular individual who's a fan of yours, I definitely feel that as well. And you know, to ask, what is I guess how important is maintaining that connection to your audience for you?
It's huge.
It's the most important thing.
Well, yeah, like especially like I mean, because I'm more so active in our Discord, and I love everybody. Like I want to see how you're doing. I want to make sure you're good because I think it's like a reflection of, you know, like how we're all doing. Like you guys are happy with, you know, everything that we've got going on. Then like, you know, we have words are hard. Like, I don't know if we can bond over like something I said in a video and like we have the laughs and we have like a good relationship. It's important. I want you guys to escape reality and like have fun and just forget about life's problems because like we have so many of them. So like that's super important. That I love that.
I mean, we wouldn't be here right now without them.
Right.
We know the truth. We know the reality. Like the community is the most important thing, and they could say whatever they want, but they are like the community is number one. And that's the primary reason why I think we gravitated towards live streaming so much, because it gave us the opportunity to live interact with them on the fly. It's one thing.
Those are my favorite days.
Yeah, it's
Movie
one thing.
Nights are my favorite.
It's one thing just going in and responding to comments or having a chat in Discord. It's completely different being able to communicate with them live as you're literally looking into the camera, talking to them as they're responding in real time.
Right.
I think that's the biggest reason why we love live streams so much, and we do the weekly movie time. Like we want to do more streams, but the reaction channel and the reaction videos are always priority number one. But we do the movie nights every single week, and being able to just hang out and watch usually a pretty crazy movie. It's just, it's the most important part because again, no YouTuber, no creator could succeed without them. Right. The community is always number one.
Yeah. And I always advocate for that too, because, you know, going back to the point about the copyright stuff and like everything, it's really important to foster a community that's there for you, not just for the content. Like the content is great,
Right.
sure, to be there for your favorite Star Wars stuff or whatever, but it's mainly coming back to see like your favorite personalities, people that you care about, that you want to hear their insight. And I think you both do a really great job fostering that with the live streams. Like you said, live streams being another level of interaction that they can have with you. That's something that I think everyone really learned, during the pandemic, because everyone was home trying to get that connection back, and when you were able to sort of get that going with like the live streams and everything, has a good, to me though, at that point, there was a sort of shift in that priority between live and pre-recorded content. I think you're doing a good job explaining why both are as important as you in terms of diversifying. So now, I guess to reiterate, how do you balance that, the pre-recorded content with like, yes, your ability and love to do live interactive content?
I think the answer is the same for everything we do, is having a strict schedule. Having just like, and us, like, because we're together doing, like, we're two of us on the channel, communicating is massive. Like Nikki knows what days we're watching what, and I know when we're watching what, and we figure out which night movie night is for the live stream. And we coordinate that with the kids' schedules. Like, hey, what do we got going on this night? Like, is there a softball practice that I got to get home for? Am I going to be up to watching an episode of Sons of Anarchy tonight because we just had a 2.5 hour practice kind of stuff?
Right.
Yeah.
So
And who wants, this is the night y'all can have sleepovers. You cannot have sleepovers when we're working, because I'm not going to be responsible for somebody else's kid while we're watching a movie.
yeah. So I also think a lot of it has to do with, like, I have an obsessive compulsive mindset about this stuff specifically. And when it comes to work, like, I just have crazy drive when it comes to work.
Right.
And I just go along for the ride. Yep, whatever you want to do, let's go.
So I think a lot of that is just, like, if you came into like my office or my desk and you're like, dude, you're a mess. Like, I'm one of those messy, organized type of people,
Right.
where I know where everything is that I need.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think having a dedicated schedule for yourself to when you're watching stuff, when you want to post stuff, like figuring that out takes a lot of stress out. The stress shows up once you try to announce to the community that you have a schedule. That's
Right.
where things get a little difficult.
Yeah.
But having a structured personal schedule, I think, is how we balance everything.
It's so important.
I mean, you got a taste of it trying to schedule this interview.
Yeah.
Like trying to figure out a friggin' day for us to have this chat.
How long have you guys been talking about a schedule? Like 3 months?
Since he started these.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just about being structured and sticking to a schedule. And I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who could just free flow everything with their schedule. Like, I can't do that.
I'm gonna go sit down and go watch a show. I can't do that.
I need to be structured and I need to know exactly what we're doing for the week. So every Sunday I'll sit down every night and look at my work schedule, look at the kids' schedule, and then plan out what we're watching it, when we're watching it, and when it's getting uploaded.
Fantastic. That's very, very good advice. Honestly.
Yeah, it's hard to stick to it, but it's necessary if you want to have long-term success on the YouTube.
Well, I think it's important though, because like if you put out a schedule, then like I know that I get to watch something on this day, and I can like, you schedule like your eating schedule, because like I get to watch my favorite show with my people, and like this is what we're doing.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah. It's very good advice. But part of that, you mentioned just us trying to schedule out something for this interview. The biggest obstacle was recently that you moved. You had a home change, a set change. And I guess, what was that process like, finding a new home? Not necessarily from obviously like a homeowner standpoint, like, 'cause that's obviously a huge obstacle. But I also just, as content creators, prioritizing, like, we got to find a home, now we're going to get set up again, to get the room looking as we need it. Yes. What was that whole experience like?
I mean, it was stressful. I mean, because like the big thought process as a content creator on YouTube is, if I don't post content, people are going to forget about us. Right. They're not going to watch us. YouTube's going to take us out of the algorithm and we're going to lose the channel forever. Like, you start going into that kind of panic mode with your mindset. And I mean, that was obviously there, even with as many subs as we have on the channel, which is still just such a small number in terms of the grand scheme of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you get worried that you aren't sticking to that schedule. Like all the Sons of Anarchy fans know that we're posting a Sons of Anarchy reaction on Tuesday. Like that's the normal day. Like, hey, where are you guys? Why haven't you posted? I don't care what's going on in your personal life. Where's our video?
Right.
Kind of thing.
Which I get it. I'm the same way
Yeah.
with my YouTube content creators. Where's the video?
That aspect of moving and packing the set, and then we just put up a video. I think I did it today's video?
Yes, true.
Last night.
Yes.
For today, where it was our first video in this room in the new house. And we probably rushed it because nothing was set up. The sound was absolutely dog shit.
Right.
And it was one of those things where I'm like, we got to get a video posted. Like, we got to watch it. And like, especially for like the patrons type of situation, you don't want to leave them hanging too long.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just that stress of getting the schedule again, like keeping your YouTube feed up to speed and what people are used to seeing from you guys. And I think the thing, like, shout out to Miles. He's our editor. He edits like 2 videos a week for us. We've been able to bank a bunch of content. And I think that helped a lot because we didn't have to film and like post. We were able to just kind of have stuff ready to go and have it posted. So at least we'd have a couple videos posted in the couple weeks.
Well, and we never used to do that. We never used to bank stuff. It was you record it, you edit, you post it, and then start all over again the next day. Like we never had time to bank anything.
Yeah.
So that was like having that content probably saved a couple nerves from exploding in my head, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, the ability to get ahead, I think, is super important for things like this, like that life experience of, like you said, the stress of being out of the game too long is like such a huge thing for reactors, YouTubers of all kind, content creators, because of the way the algorithm really punishes you for trying to take any time off.
Yes.
So, but you know, to go back to the family aspect, the work-life balance. At this point, do you have any recommendations for people beyond maybe scheduling, like you said, the time off, to people who are either, new parents, gonna be parents, like getting to like sort of like the big, big boy adulthood type stuff like homeownership, things like that, what they could do?
I mean,
I don't feel like I'm an adult yet. We're still like very, very immature in here. So
I think it just goes back to knowing what your priorities are. And if you are a new parent or you are moving into something different, I think understanding what your priorities are and getting those in line are most important.
Because without that, you don't have any content to create.
Yeah.
If you, unless you you have to make sure that the foundation is good before you can go off and have good or success anywhere else. Because if it's all messed up at home, nothing is going right elsewhere.
Right. So making sure, and I think it goes back to the scheduling thing, having a clear understanding of what your day looks like every day. Mm-hmm. And I know that could be hard and that could be stressful in itself, but knowing that, okay, the kids are gone from this time to this time, we got to go pick them up here. They got homework, then practice, and then we got to get dinner, get them to bed, and then we can sit down and watch. Like, the adjustment of having kids and doing this job could be challenging because, I mean, kids need us.
Right.
Like we're their parents. They thrive. They need us to thrive. And so just like getting your priorities straight, making sure that your family is taken care of, making sure your responsibilities are taken care of. The channel is going to be there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, like, for brand new creators, the
hard.
Schedule thing, I don't fully recommend the idea of having a set schedule for when you post. Maybe, again, go back to like having your own personal schedule behind the scenes that people don't know about. Mm-hmm. Getting content posted when you could get it posted is the most important thing at the beginning. Because that just adds an extra layer of stress that you don't need. Mm-hmm. There's enough stress of posting yourself reacting to a piece of content on the internet as it is.
Right.
You don't need that, like, oh, I said I was going to post this video by 9 a.m. and it's 8:55 and it's still processed. Like, you don't need that extra stress. So personal schedule. And then as you get into a rhythm and a flow of creating the content and posting it, that's when you can be a little more open with posting your public schedule to the community. I still don't like posting times. I don't like people thinking like, oh, hey, this video is coming at 10 o'clock because sometimes I have a meeting or got to go do something with the kids or something with my full-time job comes into play. And it's like, oh, I can't get this video posted till 6.
Yep.
I told them 10. People get mad.
Here.
But
Understandably so.
I think it just comes with building your routine, understanding your routine, and then just making sure your priorities are taken care of before you jump into this stuff is probably the most important thing.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Again, great advice.
What he said.
And now, now with that you're here, you've been doing the channel for, so many years at this point. Do you have any sort of future aspirations for the channel that you're trying to adhere to, whether it's like, just new content you're trying to experience or like, looking forward to maybe the setup, anything?
That's hard. I'm always thinking like, is everybody gonna keep watching? Like, please.
Yeah. I mean, like I thought it, like I kind of prepared myself for that question. And as I was thinking about it, my answer is kind of no to goals. Like my main goal year to year is to make sure that the channel is bigger and better than it was the year before.
Right.
And my main focus is always being on the pulse of the trends when it comes to social media and YouTube and all that stuff, and trying to find ways to constantly evolve. Because I could tell you our strategy in 2021 is different than our strategy is in 2023 going into 2024.
Totally.
We always said, well, for at least a year or two, we always said we were never going to react to shows with long episodes again. And here we are
like
watching
multiple seasons, multiple episodes, like a huge chunk of content that we have to catch up on.
We were going to focus on in the now stuff that's new, stuff with short number of seasons. And here we are doing Sons of Anarchy that has 90 something episodes and 7 seasons of TV. So that is always my goal, is to constantly evolve the strategy. Like there could be a video on the channel from 5 years ago talking about our strategies and me sounding like a complete moron because that's not what we're doing now.
Right.
Because I think the only way that you could even stay above water on YouTube is being flexible with your strategy and your beliefs. There's a couple things that we'll stick to no matter what, but there's certain things that will open the door for other things, like doing a show like Sons of Anarchy. Yeah. Where it has so many episodes that we'll be watching it for the whole year because our schedule doesn't allow for us to binge and watch 5 episodes a night.
Oh man, that'd be so awesome though.
So my goal is just always being able to evolve, because if you can't evolve, you'll get left behind. And it's just, you have to be able to learn and adjust and not be super stubborn to your beliefs in terms of what you think is success or not success on this platform.
Yeah, but I mean, still being like strict with like certain things that like I only want to watch things that I'm interested in.
Totally.
Yeah.
Not just because they get the views.
Yeah.
Like I'll throw it out there, and it creates a buzz every time we bring it up. But anime, I know for a fact that it's not our thing. We're not going to watch anime. We're not going to go down that road. We're old enough to understand what we like and don't like. And I have seen enough of it to know that it's like animated content just will never land the same for me as live action content will. It's just different. And I know that about myself. Like Nikki's on the same page, luckily.
Same way.
So the idea that like we'll never do something, it's hard to say never, but that's just one of those things where I know who we are as people, and we will never force something just because it might get subscribers or views.
Right.
Like we'll stay true to ourselves no matter what, and always be as authentic as possible. Because like the moment you're not, the internet's going to notice and they'll call you out for it, and you will be in a lot of trouble, because that's pretty much the end for you if you are faking stuff. So it's one of those things where being genuine and authentic is always going to be our primary goal.
Yeah, I still have to live with me.
True, exactly. So
yeah,
like in terms of goals, it's always just figuring out ways to evolve and just keep this trajectory going. Never dip too hard year to year.
That would suck.
Yeah.
Perfect advice again. And again, so now that you've been doing this for a while, I want to ask, what is the most consistent obstacle you've faced with maintaining the channel over the years?
Time. There are not enough hours in the day.
Yeah. I mean,
Like I want to like watch an episode and do live streams and like hang out with everybody and like be able to chit chat and like there's just not enough hours in the damn day.
yeah, I think time is the biggest obstacle because for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, you know, because you've edited reaction videos before. It's not a small, short process. It's not a, hey, just go watch this and post the reaction. A lot of these shows are 60 minutes, so take a few minutes to set up, watch the episode, kind of let things die down. Then you got to upload all the footage, and then you got to edit the footage. And depending on the episode length, it could take anywhere from like 3 hours to 5 hours. If I've got something good on TV, if I'm freaking Empire Strikes Back's on TV, it might take me 7 hours to edit a reaction. So it all depends. Like time is definitely the biggest thing. And it's just keeping that schedule structured it's tough.
Well,
it's not easy.
I mean, you still want to be able to go outside when it's daytime.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
And
other
touch
thing.
grass.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Not living your life in front of the camera and being able to, like, 'cause we get comments all the time, like specifically with like Andor. Everyone's like, where's your Andor react? Like, why didn't you react to Andor? I'm like, because as a Star Wars fan, sometimes I just need to enjoy a show off camera.
Sure.
And I just need that personal time kind of thing. And it's just, that's very important. But on the flip side, just having like the time is the hardest struggle every time.
Sure.
Yes.
Never enough hours in the day, as everyone says.
Yeah. That makes sense. And yes, like keeping shows to yourself, I think is super important as well.
Yeah.
Like definitely. And how would you say you have personally grown with the channel over the years?
Oh. I'm way more like comfortable just being my weird self. Like, I don't know. Like, not that I was like shy in person, but I feel like I can tell way more jokes like in real life now that we can like, and like people that have like that I know in real life that started watching me on the channel, they're like, oh my God, you're so funny. And it's like, I know, but like, like I feel like way more like just comfortable like being able to talk to just strangers, and it's like it's so fun because I love people and I love talking to people. So
I think for me, it goes back to a work related thing where, because I work in media. I've always worked for large corporations. I still currently work for a large corporation. And it's always one of those things where it's super validating for me to be able to, as a couple of nobodies, actually do something cool and successful on the internet without the attachment of anyone else.
Right.
And just having the knowledge and the ability that everything that I've done in my life in terms of professional way, whether it was schooling or the jobs or the internships or like picking the brain of the people who were ahead of me in terms of work and like mentors and stuff, knowing that we've been able to build what we have now as literal nobodies, I think for me, it grew my confidence as a content creator, knowing that I feel like what we do and what I've done in terms of like the way, like I like to think that the way our videos are edited is kind of unique, and I like to believe that. And when I hear comments of how things are edited, I take a ton of joy in that because a lot of people don't notice the edit of a video.
Right.
I mean, you're an editor, you probably feel the same way.
Totally.
And it's one of those things where the growth came for me as a personal content creator who has a passion for content creation and making videos, and someone who's been doing that since basically my senior year of high school. And it just, I feel like I've grown as a creator is kind of where, I mean, being comfortable in front of people, I mean, I think that's always a challenge.
Anybody, I love it.
Yeah. But I think my tolerance for certain things too has grown a lot in terms of being on YouTube. So yeah, I just think it's allowed me to grow a lot as a creator.
Great. No, I totally get what you mean. Having this as your own personal enterprise of something you've built, that from the ground up, without the institution behind you to like give it to you, I think is something very, very important to take to heart. And yes, the editing aspect as well. I share similar sensibilities about that. I always go back to the quote from one of my favorite episodes of Futurama, where it's when you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all. Like that's pretty much what editing is. It's good editing.
Exactly.
You're supposed to hide the seams there.
Yep.
Like this job.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the final question here before we start to wrap up is beyond any monetary or financial value, what would you say is the most important aspect or rewarding aspect of you for the channel?
The community.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Like being able to connect with everybody else is just awesome.
Just hearing people's personal stories about like
You got me through something.
that kind of stuff
It's
is just like
mhm.
that's where things hit really hard. And you like, especially through the pandemic where a lot of people were kind of stuck alone.
Right.
They weren't able to go out and go like be with family and be with other people. Like you see the comments on all the various different reaction channels out there about how you helped me get through this moment. You were able to distract me from this thing or that thing over here. Like, and just being able to like talk to them, like specifically like in Discord or through live stream or even in the comments on YouTube.
Being able to put like a personality to a screen name is like the best feeling.
Yeah. Just thinking like at its most basic level, we're sitting here and all the other reactors out there are just sitting there watching the show and just reacting to it. Having an impact on anyone else is just the most insane, amazing thing. And just being able to just, because we're normal people, we're just regular people just doing videos.
Just watching shows and crying on the internet.
Yeah. Being able to engage and hear from them and share experience. Like we share things with them, they share things with us. It's like, you don't realize that you provide the same thing for like, you say like, oh, you distract us from this and get it. Like you do the same for us.
Right.
It's like hearing from you. It's just, it provides us for that same type of distraction and just joy and enjoyment. And
I look forward to seeing your screen name. I know you. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know you, but like I know, like, you know, I'm expecting to come and see you and have a discussion, talk, and like be friends.
It's definitely that community build, and just like there are people in the community that I would consider friends.
Yeah.
Some of them are family now. It's like you need something. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
Like it's gotten to that point.
Especially the moderators. Shout out to the moderators.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely.
moderators have their own day of the year. They deserve more than that because
Yes.
the stuff they go through is absolutely amazing.
Especially from him.
Especially from me. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the community aspect of all of this is easily the number one thing.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, fantastic advice all around. I appreciate all the insight you've been giving us today. Really, really good nuggets of information to chew on here.
Hopefully not too long-winded.
No, definitely not. That's what we're here for.
I tend to talk too much, as some people will say.
No such thing here. I do want to get into our final questionnaire of the show. It is our 10-question Inside the Actor Studio type questionnaire for you both.
Nice.
So feel free to answer however long you want, elaborate, or as concise as you feel need. So first question is, what is your favorite TV show?
Ever or just on the channel?
Ever. Let's say ever.
Okay.
Oh, ever?
Yeah.
Ooh. New Girl or Schitt's Creek? Ooh. Those are my comfort shows where I can just have them on in the background. I love them so much. Maybe New Girl.
New Girl.
It's my
Okay.
OG.
I'll go Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is no show. Some have gotten close, but no show has ever made me feel the things that I felt while watching Game of Thrones. And I don't have, like, I could acknowledge the end and the problems with it, but I don't have the issues that a lot of people do.
Mhm.
I think I still think the worst episode and the worst season of Game of Thrones is still leagues ahead of a ton of other shows.
Yeah.
Fair.
So, I mean, I would pick Game of Thrones as my favorite.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just,
All the Viking stuff.
I mean,
I'm obsessed. But yeah, New Girl.
What is your favorite film?
Oh.
that's easy for me.
Ah.
Return of the Jedi is my favorite movie of all time.
Uh,
Star Wars is my favorite thing, and that's my favorite movie.
That's my favorite movie. Moulin Rouge.
Well,
I just
ooh,
love.
that's a good one.
But Where the Heart Is with Natalie Portman. Oh God.
I'll take Moulin Rouge. My girlfriend will be
Yeah,
very
I'll
happy
do
to hear that.
These are hard.
Don't worry. What stresses you out?
He's sitting right next to me.
Same.
I mean, like he's my biggest stress, but also like my biggest comfort. So, Steven. But also like, no, we're just gonna go with that.
Taking care of my family is my biggest stress.
Yeah.
Making sure that they are all well taken care of, and that me, from my point of view, everything that I'm doing is providing them to have the best future possible.
Totally.
It's
that
true.
stresses me out.
It's true.
Especially having daughters.
Yeah. What helps you relax?
You want me to answer for you?
No. Oh.
I know what the answer is for that.
Okay, tell me. What is it?
Gardening and your nails.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, I've gotten many a comment about that, like on the channel. Like, how often does Nikki change her nails? And it's like sometimes daily, and it takes a long time because they're gel. So it's like,
right.
And and gardening. I mean, since we moved, I don't have a garden right now, but I'm working on it.
I would say jujitsu is my comfort. Been doing that 15 years. It's
nice.
Something that I bake into my schedule. As I say, you need some personal time for your schedule. That, as ironic as it is, because it's a martial art, it calms me down and it centers me and it brings me.
When you can go punch somebody, I mean, there's
no
no striking.
punching.
There's no striking in jujitsu. I know, but like rolling around, like choking people.
Just that level of exercise, it just centers me. It just brings me down.
Totally.
And allows me to focus.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What pastime outside of film and TV do you enjoy the most? If not those, I think that might be the answers.
I mean, I love watching the kids, like, because my oldest plays softball, my youngest does gymnastics.
I mean,
anything having to do with them, I love it.
I'm very involved with our oldest softball team right now. Like, I get to coach, and I'm very involved right now.
Coach Steve.
And that's probably outside of like jujitsu is probably the answer for everything. Outside of that, it would be being able to be on that dirt with my oldest daughter and with those other kids, and being able to coach and teach. And
Yeah, because it's not just our daughter; it's all the kids. I love.
Right.
Yeah. I love it.
Totally. What is your guilty pleasure TV show or film?
I love watching drama on YouTube. All the drama.
Right.
Because I don't have any drama in my own life. But all the drama channels. I know all the tea. All of it.
I don't know. What's my guilty pleasure?
Yeah, nothing to be guilty of. That's also an answer I will accept.
That's like every time people talk about their guilty, like I don't. It's like what is a garbage TV show that I watch?
I was gonna say, like you have like trash. He was watching Saw the other day. I was like, turn this off. It's too much. Like I love horror movies, but damn, that's a lot.
I mean, we're gonna watch the new one when it's
oh gosh.
Throwing that out there. But yeah, I don't like that's a difficult one for me. I don't know what the right answer is.
Don't worry, I'll take that as an answer itself.
Okay.
I accept that one. What would be your dream profession outside of reacting, or maybe your current job right now?
I always wanted to be an esthetician, but that's
really
I don't. It's not like exciting or anything. But
I mean, if I could pick anything today, it would probably be a video game streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, word.
Because I mean, I know the work that goes into that, but being able to do that full time would just be so much fun.
Right.
That's if you had no other responsibilities.
Correct.
Like kids and stuff.
Yeah, just stream 24/7. Yeah.
Because how you gotta be on there for many hours.
Or the 12-year-old version of me, professional baseball player.
Right.
Word.
That makes sense.
Yes. I didn't have any of that. I just want to pick at people's faces and rip hair out. That's
Still a good answer. For both very good. What is the show that gave you your favorite experience with the channel?
Personal or for like her?
For either one. Like if it was a show that resonated with you very well on camera, or like the audience reception and so on.
I mean, my personal favorite experience reacting to something with Nikki was Haunting of Hill House.
Nice.
That one specific jump scare that y'all know about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
One of my, like watching scary stuff with Nikki in general. Like she beats the shit out of my arm, and I love it.
That sounds like I'm abusive.
You're not gonna. You're. I'm gonna
end up on the drama channel.
I'm good.
That's what the jujitsu's for.
I embrace it. I welcome it. I think I have a blast watching scary stuff with Nikki.
I mean, I do love it.
Right.
I do love it, but I don't know.
I mean, Game of Thrones is always going to have a special place in terms of just the response that those reactions got from the community.
Yeah, but like also like Walking Dead, like because they like sent us those like those crates and stuff, and it was like, you want to send me something? Well, and also like we've gotten so many goodies from like all the community. People send us swords and stuff.
Right.
Like this is crazy talk, but like that was.
I mean, the PO box, the post office got mad at us during Game of Thrones.
Oh my god!
They're like, you got too much stuff. Stop having people. Like, what is happening? Like,
yeah. Sorry. It's not me.
Yeah. And what film or show do you wish you could erase from your memory and watch again for the first time on camera?
My pick would be Dexter.
True Blood.
Yeah. True Blood.
Yeah.
That's a
I think just for like when the funny thing is, Nikki's exactly the same as she is on our videos as she is if we're just sitting on the couch watching.
Right.
Her anxiety and her reactions to, I almost, for us and for the community to see Nikki's reaction to, especially early seasons of Dexter, her anxiety and just freak out moments
I
watching
have to walk
show,
away sometimes. I'm like, I can't watch this. I can't watch this with you.
that would have been so much fun.
Yeah.
To be able to do the original Dexter on the channel.
Right. Both were good answers.
Yeah.
It's all about her.
Yeah.
It's always about.
And our final question here, what advice would you give yourself if you can go back in time to when you first started the channel?
Don't worry about like the bad comments. It doesn't mean anything. Focus on positive.
Right.
Don't focus on the negative.
Yeah. I think don't beat yourself up so much if something doesn't get done according to what you think it should be done a certain way, and just always continue to be true to yourself. I think that is easily one of the more important things, but even still all these years into this, I still stress myself out about certain moments, about
oh my God,
not
he does.
getting a video out when I wanted to, not even like the community demanding it be posted. It's me being like, I want to get this post, like hurry up, get it posted kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still tell myself to this day, and I would probably tell myself back then as well, just chill out. Like when it gets done, it gets done. It's going to be okay.
Right.
It's going to be okay.
Replay this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Replay this
Clip it
tomorrow.
out. I'll send it to you. Yeah. Yes. Fantastic advice all around. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here today. I really appreciate all the insight you were able to provide for us. It's always a pleasure to see you, whether here or on
Thank
camera
you.
and your reactions. So I appreciate you being here today.
And thank you to you for everything that you're doing for the reaction community also, because
No, thank you.
it is noticed. We see it. I think it's amazing. The stuff that you're building with this space, I think is amazing. And just reactors have a voice too. We're people too, you know? And
We're not just sitting here watching the show.
there's so many reactors out there, and just being able to give them a voice of all these different reactors from different parts of the world and different aspects of where their channels are, and just
Perspectives.
I think that's just amazing what you're doing with all that, and just keep up the good work. I think
Thank
it's
you.
awesome.
I appreciate it. I know.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. My girlfriend / managing editor will appreciate that too, because she's very, very
Yes.
eager to help with that too as well. Where can we find you online, anywhere, social media, YouTube, otherwise?
So we're on Twitter and Instagram as Nikki Steve React.
Mm-hmm.
No, and the character
Right.
limit on Twitter. And then it's the same on Instagram. It's both for those. It's the same for both of those. And obviously our main channel that we do everything on now, Nikki and Steven React on YouTube, or live streaming weekly. We post 3 to 5 videos there a week. And if you want to hang out and talk about a bunch of random stuff,
Yeah.
the Discord. Sticker, it's the Sticker Family Discord. There's links to all that everywhere on all of our everything that we do.
All the content.
It's great for the community to interact with each other. It's free. It might not be simple right away. Discord could be a
We
little.
have a ton of channels in there.
So like, if you want to come talk makeup with Nikki in the community, like we have
can do
channels
that.
for that stuff. Or talk Star Wars with me, you can come do that. So
Don't do that.
So yeah, those are all of our spots. We spend most of our time on the Discord. So
Yeah.
Great. If you're finding us here on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Pitch us who you want to see next, who's coming up. If you find us on the newsletter for Passionfruit, please subscribe to that as well and share around, spread the good word. And we will catch everyone on the next one.